Hello and welcome all. Welcome to the week three session for mentoring for AWS Cloud Practitioner Certification. All I would say is that spend your time in going through the 6 hours digital video course. That's the free resource. In case if you want to go for any paid courses, and there are many like Stephen Marek or Rand Kurenberg or Adnil Cartnell. Go for any course in Udemy. They're all good courses. But in case if you're looking for free resources, then go for the 6 hour digital training course. Then you have a lot of white papers that I've shared. And yeah, feel free to ask me any questions. Uh, Hopefully, you all will be ready for taking your cloud practitioner certification like in 2 weeks time or so. We all can together plan for like a Kahoot quiz, a kind of a sample AWS cloud practitioner certification exam together, which might be helpful. But yeah, I'll wait for you guys to have any questions. Yeah, please, Rupesh.
Uh, like for any S3
Yeah,
to access anything in S3, I need the EC2, right?
it's not like that. So S3 is a total separate storage service. So
Storage,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
AWS has multiple core services. So let's go through this. So one of the core services compute, which is, and one of the option in the compute is EC2. Similarly,
EC2,
yeah,
yes.
one of the core services storage, we have S3. One of the core services database,
Correct.
which is RDS, and these
Yes.
obviously can be used with each other together from a whole application perspective. We can talk about a 3 tier web application, how it will look like. But these are like independent services which can be used independently without any dependency on each other. For example, lot of AWS customers use AWS S3 just for storing their data,
Right.
right? And that has nothing to do with EC2, or they are being accessed with EC2. No, they can directly access S3. So all AWS services underlying are APIs. They can be accessed via APIs. So and you have multiple ways to access them. They are on a very high level. There are three ways. AWS Management Console that we are looking into here, right? So I'm accessing
Mhm.
S3 bucket through AWS Management Console. The second is AWS CLI. I can configure a CLI and I can use services via CLI, which we did it,
Yeah.
AWS S3LS. And the third is SDK, which is software development kit. In case if you're writing application in .NET or Java, you will be able to use those SDKs to access it. But all of these
Right.
underlying are using REST APIs. So all the AWS services are accessible via REST APIs.
Okay. So for S3, we do not need any EC2.
No, we do not need any EC2.
No compute needed. Okay. So, so I was like I'm going through the Snowflake, and then I thought like Snowflake is like compute and storage is totally different, and that's the benefit for Snowflake. So I was like thinking like in AWS, like if there is a link between S3 and EC2, but that is not the case, right?
No, that is not the case. So there are so if you want storage along with compute, like, there are multiple ways to do it. So depending upon the scenario, in case if you want a remote compute storage scenario, then we have a Snow family, AWS Snow family,
Okay.
right? So and looking into Snow family, the better way for is to go for the documentation. But there is a snow cone, a snowmobile, and so on and so forth, where you will be able to, so you say, highly secure portable devices to collect and process data at the edge and migrate data into in and out of S3. So that's where the
Okay.
Snow family comes into picture. And there are multiple, as I said, we have a snow cone. This is the snow cone, which has, if I'm not wrong, it would be like around 8 GB or something data. Then we have Snowball, which is a rugged service which has much more data, and it has compute. So if you see here, This particular has storage optimized device up to 40 vCPUs, which is the compute, and then it has a 80 terabyte storage. All right. Then we have Snowmobile for enterprises which have petabyte scale data which they need to transfer to AWS. Then we send this full whole truck to them, which is in itself, like a very like, as I said, tamper resistant, waterproof, and temperature controlled with multiple layers of logical and physical security, with alarm monitoring and 24
Yeah.
by 7 video surveillance. So depending upon use case to use case, there are multiple services. But yeah, S3 in itself can be used as a standalone, or if you want to use it along with EC2 for any processing on the data that is being stored in S3, that's also possible.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Rupesh. So if you have used Dropbox, like it is a kind of S3.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's just like a kind of hard drive, or
A storage place,
flash
a
drive.
storage space, any storage.
So,
basically.
yeah. I was thinking like for accessing the storage also, I need some computer, not.
You need a compute, but that compute can be a local computer. You do not need a EC2. You can be on Azure and access S3 via REST API.
Yeah. Got it. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Any more questions, guys? We do have 10 minutes.
One more question I have. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
So for RDS, so it's like a warehouse, like a database, right? RDS, and then we have a S3.
Okay, so yeah, let me explain the difference in more detail. So S3 is mainly for storage of object storage, like files and stuff.
Anything can be
Yes.
stored. RDS is more like relational database,
Exactly.
data storage. Right?
Exactly, it is relational database. RDS is relational database, like service. So in case if you have data in your SQL Server or Oracle or MySQL, all of them, you would be, having them is on premise on your own compute services installed, provision, right? So, and there's a lot of maintenance that you need to do. If you want to kind of use a managed service, then that's where RDS comes into picture. It is a managed service which allows you to have these relational database service, and it comes in multiple flavors, as I said. If I create a database here, then as you see here, I can have a MySQL, MariaDB, Microsoft SQL, PostgreSQL. Amazon Aurora is something that is a cloud native database, and it is much more scalable. We will dive deep into it a lot during our Solution Architect Associate certification. But because we have time, let me, give me just one moment. I'll bring up one slide so that everyone understands why Amazon Aurora is, fast and scalable. So all the traditional databases, they are actually, kind of problem, when it comes to scale. If you have used SQL Server, then you would have probably, understood that, when it comes to processing millions of requests, then it's going to have a scaling problem. And that's mainly because, traditional databases have a lot of things that they will be doing, like SQL queries or the transactions, caching, logging, storage. All of them are done in one specific box itself, all right, which has the storage and compute. Okay, but when we thought about, doing Aurora, we reimagined the relational database. We actually, we break apart each of this stack, and that's how Amazon Aurora came into picture. So Amazon Aurora, what it does is decouples the storage and the compute, so that your whole storage is totally separate now, and it is stored across 3 availability zones, with each data point being stored in two locations across one availability zone. So every data has 6 copies of it. So this is how your storage is resilient in Amazon Aurora, and the compute is separated. And now to scale it, all we need to do is to add extra compute, because storage is already shared, distributed, and scalable. You need not have a more, storage. It will be only the compute instance that you need to add. And that's what makes Aurora a cloud native database. But yeah,
So Amazon Aurora also uses the Amazon S3 for storage.
it is not revealed, but how exactly the behind the scenes it is being stored. But the data is backed
Oh,
up into S3.
okay, got it. Thank you.
You're most welcome.
Prasad, one question on exam. I was looking at prerequisites. So there are no prerequisites for any exam now. So does that mean I can go for an solution architect professional exam without doing practitioner or associate?
That's true. Initially,
Oh, okay.
yeah. Initially, there was not for the solution architect associate, there was no prerequisite apart from the experience perspective, which is a guideline. But for professional, you need to have a solution architect associate level certifications for professional. But now that has been removed, if I'm not wrong. So you can appear directly for professional level examination. Having said that, unless you are really experienced on AWS and you have been working on AWS for more than a year, I would recommend against it. Professional level examinations are really tough. I am both AWS Solution Architect professional and DevOps professional, and both the exams are quite hard. So go for the solution. If you're really skilled, then you can skip Cloud Practitioner and you can go for Solution Architect Associate. But do not skip associate examination to go directly to professional unless you have been really working on AWS for long. Then it makes sense to go for professional directly. But professional, apart from the
Okay.
AWS knowledge, also tests a lot of other things like your time management, your critical thinking, your reading capability. So all the questions are like like a one-page essay with
Oh, wow.
yeah, they are actually, and each of the answers would be like at least 10 lines answers, kind of, like, so you'll have to read through at least 200 lines before you can think about which one is the answer. And like in associate, you'll be tested on one concept in one question. In professional, there'll be at least 3 or 4 concepts weaved into one question, and then it'll be a scenario based question. So it's very fun. Very frankly, professional is challenging. It's fun to prepare for it and sit for the exam. But it's a 3-hour exam, and by the end of the 3 hours, at least I had a headache in both the exams. By the end of it, my head was banging because it is a 3 hours of pure concentration on of all these questions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at practitioner and it looks very easy on what I do day to day for VMware or my infrastructure work.
I totally
So
agree.
that's why I was
Yeah,
thinking.
I totally agree. Practitioner is mainly for people who are getting started on cloud. Those are, so anyone who has been working. So I did not give practitioner, very frankly. I started with solution architect associate. Then I went on to developer associate, then sysops associate, then both the professionals. But I later on realized I was starting from scratch on AWS. I later on realized that I could have gone for cloud practitioner. Reason being, from the cost perspective, also cloud practitioner does not add much of the cost. It is $100 for cloud practitioner, and then you get a 50% coupon, which makes your associate level certification $75. So overall, you spend $175 for both cloud practitioner and associate. If you go directly for solution architect associate, it will cost you $150. So it's just $25 difference from the cost perspective. And if you're starting from scratch on the cloud, going for cloud practitioner and then going to solution architect associate gives you a gradual path.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Most welcome. Hope that helps everyone, not just the specific people.
Yeah. Hi, Prasad. So I have one like out of the topic question. So basically two, but I'll start with first one. So coming to the storage, right? Like say EBS, EFS, and object. I mean, I know like at a conceptual level, high level, like it's a block file system and object. So I'm just trying to understand, like say, what is the actual difference, backend?
When you say backend, how the services are designed?
No, basically, what is that actually differentiating?
When to use what?
What is that
When to
differentiating?
use what? Is that the question?
Not when to use, like how? I mean, what is the actual difference? Like, so, for example, when you have a file on your, say, desktop, when you try to upload to an S3, so you're calling it you're calling it as an object, and same file when you're trying to copy it to a say file share, you're calling it as a file, and same thing when you copy it to. I mean, so I'm just
I
trying to
understand. I understand. I
understand.
understand. It depends upon the kind of, obviously, underlying how they are stored, and the kind of retrieval mechanism or the protocol that you are using. So
Okay.
S3, when you called about S3, right? There was a very good. Oh, come on. I'll have to go to. I think it was EFS FAQ. Somewhere I saw that. It was a very good explanation on that. Exactly your question that you're asking. Yeah, here it is. When should I use EFS versus S3 versus EBS? Okay, so that's on the when should use, but it's mainly. Let me see if I have that table somewhere. There was a very good table which will answer your question exactly, but it depends upon the network protocol which is being used. So we have these, a NAS, SAN, and stuff, right? So on S3 you're using REST protocol to get the data, but if you're using, ISCI or SMB protocol, based on that it will be whether it is EFS or EBS. So think about EBS as a storage that is attached to your compute instance. EFS is something that on a file share in a network which is going to use those protocols, and S3 is somewhere on internet where you're going to use REST protocol. Hopefully like that answers, but I'll find a specific link for you where it had
Yeah.
explanation. I should be able to find that. EBS.
Yeah.
Yeah, go.
So I know. I mean, it's kind of a bit so I mean, the way I'm the reason why I'm getting confused was like, see, end of the day, whatever the input that we are giving, like say a thing, an item on our desktops, right? So that is kind of remaining same. And the way end of the day, what it gets stored on the system, like so zeros and ones, right?
Yeah.
So I know, I mean, there is some difference in terms of protocol, like or the way store. Like, I'm just trying to understand what is that exact difference and why one is advantageous. The other, I know you said like, you know, when I'm using type of protocol like
No, it's not advantages.
REST.
Yeah, it does not comes
Mhm.
from advantages. It
You
comes about the use case.
okay?
So if you want to have a data which is very fast retrievable, then you will
Hmm.
not be using S3. It has to be EBS, Elastic Block Storage,
Yeah.
because let's say, for example, RDS uses EBS. Why?
Okay.
That's because if you keep the data on a S3, then you would have to go every time through the REST API to get the data and come back.
Because it has to go through network.
Exactly. But if it is EBS,
Yeah.
then it is directly attached to the compute instance. It will be able to retrieve the data,
Okay.
right? And then we have
Yeah.
EFS. I know there are multiple storage options. It totally depends upon the use case actually, that which use case you should be using when. And this particular actually explains that in a specific way. But I specifically remember that I have seen a better comparison table. I'll find that and send it across.
Sure. Yeah. And my next question is coming to this professional, right? So what is the best, say if I don't have an opportunity to work real time? I mean, I mean, we might have like, but we might not be at a level like where we kind of architect things, right? At a big organization. So what would be the best a way to crack those? Like,
So obviously,
what is that
yeah,
help you
yeah,
more?
hands-on always helps for those things, and I understand, if you do not have in your organization opportunity, then it's difficult to get that hands-on. uh, I myself have used for as a professional, I've used the course from Cloud Guru. I took it from Udemy. So there are like courses from either Stephen Marek or Adrenal Cardinal or Rand Kurenberg. All three of the courses are good in terms of the theory perspective. They do have some labs which you can do it on your own. But one other thing that I would like to show, for the labs that you want, give me just one moment. I'm not sure how much you guys do follow. Let me. I think I should be having that resource in my YouTube channel itself. So if I go here and I go to my YouTube channel, so I think I put that somewhere in the Solution Architect Associate learning path. So if you go to welcome all. If in all of these videos I know watching video will be a way too time consuming stuff for everyone, but go through the resources section. So if you see this hands-on lab resource, amazon.quicklabs.com. So you'll be, if you go here, there are a lot of kinds of hands-on that you will be able to get. Obviously this there are few free and there are few paid here. You may not go to the paid ones, but they give you the full instructions and you can use your AWS account to use those. Okay. So
this is a AWS offering?
Yeah, this is with a collaboration with QuickLabs. QuickLabs is another entity itself who have a collaboration with AWS, and they provide these hands-on labs. Okay, so you'll be able to find. So I think, if I'm not wrong, AWS Professional. Let's see if they. If I'm not wrong, they should be no. For AWS, it would be many, but yeah, in case if you want to a serverless design with AWS Lambda and go for a more advanced ones, for professional, if you're thinking about, go for a more advanced and expert level rather than introductory or fundamental, right? So you will be able to have that level here. And then you can go through these labs. So for each of these labs, for let's say building scalable web application with Elastic Beanstalk, you will need 15 credits if you want to start the lab. So you'll not be able to have that, no problem. You will have all the instructions here. So you can go through the instructions directly from here, click on this. You will be able to go through the instructions. After, I think you will need a login or something. And then you will be able to, follow through the instructions to do it in your own account, rather than purchasing it from here and do it from here. They give you a sandbox. If you want to do that, go ahead and do that. They will give you a sandbox for that. Any more questions?
What are those credits?
So those are credits, you'll have to purchase those credits. In case if you want to use a sandbox, you'll have to purchase those credits.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. But you will not do that. You can always, once you sign up, you will be able to, just click on these, and they will be giving you the full instructions of how to do that. And you can use your own AWS free tier account to do that. Any more questions? With that, I'm going to sign off for today. Thank you, everyone, for listening patiently, and see you in the next session.